Well-known ancient monuments point to another North Pole on our Earth, and in this way we write history. Nowadays, the Earth's magnetic North Pole is moving towards Russia, towards the east that is, while the strength of the Earth's magnetic field is rapidly decreasing. This could be the beginning of a proof of displacement of the magnetic poles, which suggests that the Earth's axis of rotation will probably shift in order to remain in line with the magnetic field. This has happened in the past as well. These pole shifts come in a periodic cycle of recurring and predictable floods that evolve possibly with large earthquakes and with massive land disappearances and dislocations at different latitudes, altitudes, and lead to the destruction of course, it could be an extinction level event resulting from loss of species and cultures, from various computer simulations of NASA as well as other organizations. That's what they find. Temperatures could drop very quickly at an incredible rate. Rains beginning and from the beginning until the end, everything freezes abruptly. The most popular image we could bring to mind that describes such an event is the frozen mammoth found in Siberia with live food raw from the fluids of its stomach. So imagine how quickly the temperature deteriorated to freeze this mammoth with the food. Kindly support my Patreon account since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. William Ferrand once wrote in an article entitled "Frozen Mammoths and Modern Geology" that a seemingly paradoxical fact remains that the climate in northern Siberia was warmer than it is today at some point in the late Ice Age, when the climate elsewhere on Earth was cooler than it is today. The theory of pole shift makes us wonder if some ancient monuments on Earth that exist today, but also some legendary cities or countries that are now considered mythical or lost cities, for example, the lost continent of Atlantis, existed long before the so-called Great Flood, the Deluge, or even when the North and South Poles were in different positions than today. Could Atlantis, Lemuria, and other lesser-known areas, for example, have existed before the current poles and be lost to the catastrophic consequences of a displacement? One study shows that the Earth once turned upside down. The ancient Greeks even had maps showing the Earth that the sun rising from the west, setting in the east. Now, could some well-known ancient monuments, which according to the scientific community are considered only a few millennia old, pre-existed from the so-called Great Flood or even before some pole shift, that is, long before the current orientation of the planet? Is it possible, for example, that the Great Pyramid in Egypt, which incorporates so many mysteries, was not built around 2500 BC, but a lot earlier? Author Robert M. Scooch, in his book Forgotten Civilizations, The Role of Solar Outbursts in Our Past and Future, helped dispel this supposed time frame. Scooch is famous for the Sphinx theory, that it existed thousands of years earlier than conventional archaeologists insist, as he proves that the erosion on the Sphinx was due to massive rainfall when the climate there was still humid and rainy, at least 10 to 15,000 years ago. Now, in 1994, the Göbekli Tepe Temple of Turkey in present-day Turkey was definitely dated to be at least 11 to 12,000 years old by the German Archaeological Institute, and appears to be strangely aligned 15 to 16 degrees northwest. What does this mean? Let's look at some examples. Thomas Mills wrote a book entitled Stonehenge, If This Was East, in which he concluded that the arrangement of the stones only makes sense if they were aligned with the sky when the North Pole was in Hudson Bay, Canada. Baalbek is a site in Lebanon with the largest stone blocks in the world. Some of them, which weigh more than 400 tons, appear to be aligned properly only if the North Pole was east of the Norwegian Sea. Many sites in the world, including the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, are said to be oriented west of present-day north because they were originally aligned with a former North Pole, not the present one. Many of the most impressive ancient monuments and temples are in alignment in a mental ring surrounding the earth. The Great Pyramids of Egypt aligns with Machu Picchu, the Nazca Lines, Easter Island, Persepolis, Mohenjo-Daro, ancient capital of the Indus Valley, with a margin of error less than 1/10 of a degree of width. Many believe that there is no coincidence in all this, and that this ring on which these very ancient sacred monuments have been built is an old equator of the earth, when the North Pole was near the borders of Southeast Alaska and the Yukon, about 39,000 years ago. Now, all of the above clues, if put together, could perhaps lead to a paradoxical conclusion that no archaeological service would agree with. What is it? That these monuments could have been created before the current location of the poles, that is, on a former axis of the earth, on another North Pole. If all this were true, then known ancient monuments point to another North Pole, and they rewrite history this way. And if, in fact, we are quite bold and open-minded, we could make another leap forward, that some of the above or other ancient monuments, as well as ancient civilizations and events, happened when the earth was once upside down. So we need to know a lot more about these ancient cataclysms. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. I've translated this for you from a Greek article.